So we are getting ready to talk to Margie Reese, and we are here at the Hammond's House Museum, right? So I am here, and Eleanor brought her boyfriend. Look, Buster. It's Buster. Eleanor, get me my things. Hello, Half Centenarians. So I just want to tell you something. We have been in art class for the last 30 minutes, and so now you get to come in. So we're now at Art 101. I think we might be at 200 by now. We're at 200 by now. We are here with the woman in charge, and she is going to enlighten us and enrich us here at this beautiful Hammond's House and give us some information about herself and about how she got here. Margie Reese, I'm so excited to have you here with me.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll continue with the class.
Thank you. Well, it's my pleasure. Good to meet you. Good to make the connection with your family back in Louisiana. So, it's always good to sit next to a Louisiana girl.
Enough said.
But I am from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I grew up in a community north of Baton Rouge, Scotlandville, and surrounded by an educated family. My aunts and uncles were Southern University graduates and employees, et cetera. So when you can walk to the college, that has an effect on your whole life.
Absolutely.
And so we were never shy of saying that in our family, you can do anything. But we didn't know what anything meant at that point. So I grew up in the 50s in Scotlandville, surrounded by all the, the band at Southern, and educated folks around Southern University, thinking that, I would grow up and be a school teacher. Well, I'm an arts administrator. That's my professional career. And I tell people that I'm a card-carrying bureaucrat.
Okay.
And I love bureaucracy. I love to know what the rules of the game are, who made the rules, how they affect us, so that people can't misappropriate public funding. And when you're a taxpayer and you expect to have clean water, you expect for the roads in your neighborhood to be paved, you expect for the trash to be picked up, you should have an expectation as well that your stories, your history, and your culture will get the kind of funding and attention that will document that culture.
So when you were first referred to me, and it came to me that you were doing things with the arts rather. So I'm thinking, you're an artist, or you work with artists, and you do all this great stuff. To hear your story when we talked, I was like, this is amazing. You're behind the scenes making sure that people are in the front of the canvas or with the canvas, getting their stuff out and accessible. So this is something that we were just saying, like, we're right here by Spelman and Clark. These people have no idea that these kinds of jobs exist. No, but for the ability to be able to do that, talk to us about how you were saying how you got started and that you wanted to do some other things and you never would have thought. Right. So how did you get here?
Well, when I got to Pullman, Washington, again, I was one of 50 black students on a campus of 20,000 students. And so you have to find your way. You're a long way from home, and everybody around you looks, nothing like you. But when I got there, I met Jonetta Cole.
Oh, wow.
She was a graduate student there working on her master's maybe or a PhD in anthropology. Okay. So I took her class because she was a black woman. She was there. And I was a theater major, but I was becoming more interested in anthropology and history and cultural history. And her class, and I thank God for her, we're in touch to this day. I thank God for her because she was the first person that ever began to open my eyes to the fact that as a black person, we had a history. A social history, a cultural history, a political history, and an academic history. And so I would go back and forth to my theater classes, and they were casting shows that were written for all white actors. And I decided that I was going to try out for one because I thought I was a pretty good little actress. And in the process of doing that, I also began to learn how the other students were curious you've heard people say, oh, "Can I touch your hair?"
Yes.
No,
yeah,
you
absolutely.
can't touch my hair. I had a big afro. I was the Angela Davis look. It was 1967 or so, and I began to see how they were curious about us, but just from a superficial. So that anthropology class helped me educate, my classmates
Right.
about the history of African American people.
So you started then.
I started then.
Yeah.
Didn't really know that that's what I was doing. Came back home, graduated, came back to Southern, got married, and decided, we moved to Dallas, and I decided I was going to get a master's degree in theater. I did. And immediately upon graduating, I began to learn how that theater, the big Dallas Theater Center, was funded.
Okay.
Where do they get the money to pay us to turn the lights on? They get that money from the city.
Okay.
So I thought, wonder who's deciding how much money they get.
Okay.
So again, my mind was on who's making these decisions. So I decided that the people making the decision worked for the city. I need to do that.
Yeah.
So I got
So
a
going
job.
back to the thing that you
What is
said
the thing?
years ago.
My destiny statement.
Yes.
Um,
And I want to shift to think like, how do we support, how do we help the African American communities or the museums? What needs to happen for them to understand how to garner that the money, the people, the whatever?
Yeah. Well, we just as private citizens need to become members of our own institutions.
True. Come on. Yeah.
You need to buy a $45 membership or a $25 membership.
You're right.
We
You're
elected
right.
our first black president on grassroots fundraising.
That's right.
If enough of us bought a membership to this museum or any other African American or culturally
Step one.
specific organization, that's step one.
Step one.
And then get involved. We want to have our social events at a restaurant or
Could be here.
it could happen here.
Yeah.
And put that money back into preserving our
That's
culture.
what we need to know, though. And we need to be reminded of that because we go where other people tell us we need to be sometimes.
Sure.
And a high has the jazz night. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so we need to
exactly.
really get involved in that. So now I want to pivot just a little bit because you go to LA, you do all this great stuff and got the, get them straight. And so how do you end up in Lagos, Nigeria?
Oh, I'm still trying to figure that out. I had decided, in my field, it's a very stressful field. And it's stressful because you're dealing with politicians, the public, taxpayer dollars, rules. And so the average lifespan of an executive director in a local arts agency, a city arts agency, is about 6 years. Well, I had decided that Dallas was my place. I was never leaving. Then I decided LA is my place. I'm never leaving. But I worked for 3 different mayors in LA, and the Los Angeles mayors are very powerful, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, I was down to my 3rd mayor. He was coming in with his own agenda, and I thought, oh, do I just have the bandwidth to handle this new guy? And I got a call from a friend who said the Ford Foundation, based in New York, is looking to hire a program director. You should apply. I thought, oh, I don't want to live in New York. But I applied anyway, because, just let me see what, I'm a curious little girl. I applied, and sure enough, the job was not in New York. It was initially that they needed a program officer in East Africa.
Okay.
I go to Nigeria, girl, and I said, oh no, it's too many people, it's the density, it's hot, it's sticky, the air conditioning is, the wind. I was a spoiled American.
Yeah.
So I went back to New York and I said, no, this is just not for me. So I go back to LA and I decide, but I'm still going to retire. They called me back and they said, well, about a month later, I said, well, maybe you should go again. And this time you'll have your own agenda. So I went back again and I spent 10 days there this time. And this time my heartstrings got yanked when I visited the museums. And I'm a theater person by training. But I went to those museums and the amazing wood carvings. You'll see some here in this house. The bronze metal sculptures you'll see here in this house were stunning. And they were against what the world historians at Harvard and so forth had told us, there were thousands of pieces of artwork in unsafe environments, stored safely away from the British, from other thieves.
Right.
They were just stored safely away. But after 50 years of the storage, they were beginning to decay.
Right. Okay.
And that's what got me to say yes.
I mean, just the rich conversation that we're having. I mean, I'm sure we could talk about all of the wonderful things that you've done. It's just, we have to start supporting. Like, we have to keep the work going. Right. And thanks to people like Dr. Hammond, who said, you know, he has a collection that is worthy.
It's stunning.
Yes.
The collection here is I said to somebody earlier today, it's a graduate school class.
Yeah.
Just walking through here and seeing the amazing African American artists. We have to support this institution and others like it.
Yeah.
I know that we all want to go see the Obama portraits at the High.
Right.
I'll be one of the first people in line. I'll buy my membership.
Yeah.
But if I don't commit to buying a membership to this place then I'm
shame on me.
Shame on me.
Shame on me. Mm-hmm.
And my work as an arts administrator, it sounds glamorous. It's hard work. It is about being in the back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good with that. So that little 8-year-old girl can be out front. And when kids can learn their history and participate creatively and show what they know how to do, when they take a bow, Marla, they stand up taller.
So let me say this to you for that little girl. So I'm going to take you back to you when you were not 8, but let's just say, what would you now today tell your 25-year-old self?
To get outside of yourself, to ask questions. Don't accept what people tell you are your limitations. The more questions you ask and the more chances you're willing to take, the bigger your world becomes, the bigger your worldview becomes.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I've done anything, extraordinary, but I think I have satisfied my curiosity.
And you've helped a lot of extraordinary things happen. So even though you might be on the back of whatever's happening, but behind all of this great stuff is you pumping away, getting the funding, making it just equitable, and giving us the opportunity to at least come to a realization that we need to step up and we need to buy a membership at places and we need to support, because we too have little 8-year-olds that need to have that ability to be able to see their culture present. So I just want to tell you I appreciate that. So the last thing I wanted to go through, and I'm going to let you say a final statement, but I just want to throw some things out at you so we can learn a little bit more about you, the person, and you give me your selection of the 2 choices that I give you. You ready?
Yeah.
Coffee or tea?
Community coffee.
Okay.
Chicory,
that's what it is. Okay, that's what, okay. Coffee or tea, chicory, all right. Community coffee. Blues or jazz?
Blues.
All right. Blues or jazz. Pets, no pets?
Oh, pets. Dachshunds.
Okay. Reading or writing?
Reading.
Okay. Listening or speaking?
Speaking.
Okay. You do a good job at it. All right. Flying or riding?
Flying.
I know.
Get me there in a hurry.
That's me. All right. So, books, read or audio?
Read.
Okay.
There's nothing like turning a page.
Okay. And then the last thing I'm going to ask you is early riser or night owl?
Early riser, if I need to get something done before the world starts interfering. But night owl, if it means that I get, again, to have that quiet time and just to think. So I clearly am one of those people who are chronically don't get enough sleep.
Really? Okay. So if you could sleep late, you will. But if you have to get something done, you're early riser.
I'm up.
All right. So you have a little bit of both?
Yeah.
You know what, Miss Reese? I am going to tell you now. This has been such a pleasure. I know we're going to walk around and see a little bit more of the museum. You guys check out the Hammond's house. And I'm going to let Miss Margie tell you one thing before she leaves that you can help us with understanding the arts and why we should support if you had to stand and deliver.
I think creativity is in our souls as human beings. Even the creator, created
That's right.
us. So creativity is a part of what we do. We solve problems. And people say to me all the time, I'm not an artist, but you're a creative person.
Absolutely.
And our stories are so unique as Black people.
Yeah.
And so undertold and misappropriated. That we are the only ones that can pull it back in and regain control of our stories. Our children deserve space to be creative.
Yeah.
But we have to protect that, and we have to demand it. Just like we demand clean air and water. We have to demand that our souls are fed. Absolutely. And that our stories are authentically told by us, for us. And that's why I do this work. And that's why I really appreciate the chance to share these few minutes with you and your audience.
I'm so appreciative of you taking the time to do that. So you guys, remember that you have to celebrate us. You have to support. It takes support. And there's some things that you can do, but there's some things that you should do, and that's one of the things that you should do. Another thing that you should do is like, subscribe, follow us. Let us know what you think, because great people like Margie Reese are here because we live in silos, but we have Half Centenarians that are doing great things. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, all of that great stuff, and send us the people that you think matter, that are doing things and living their best lives, because that's what we're doing over here. Two Louisiana girls.
Thank you, Miss
Doing
Mara.
our thing. Yes. We'll see you soon, you guys. Take care.